Welcome into the 305 guys here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at 5 Reasons Sports. We got Alex Donno. You can follow him at Alex Donno. We are sponsored here today by Better Edge. Use the code 5RSN. Get $20 to play right away. Go to betteredge.com. Then you can basically download its mobile app. You can check it out there as well. Better Edge, what's the advantage against the other sports books? Well, first, it's legal. We know there are not many of those. But also you don't pay a VIG, which means you're not giving away money to the house for nothing. Money for nothing. You know the old Dire Straits song. You don't want to do that. So don't give away that. No, you probably don't. You guys are all too young. Anyway,
I do.
Use a code. You're old enough. You're in my window here. You're not with me, but you're in my window, Donno. Use the code 5RSN. You get $20 to play right away. You can see there the Dolphins, man, 7-point favorites at home.
Let's go. Playoff
What
surge
have they
continues.
done to deserve to be 7-point favorites against anybody? Seriously.
The
Raiders are starting Gardner Minshew this weekend, aren't they?
Yeah.
Is that what they're doing?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I 7
over these
points.
Dolphins.
I mean, the over-under is 24.5.5. I play that under. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Go to betteredge.com. Use the code 5RSN. We're not talking Dolphins today. We're going to talk Heat. So go there. Go to betteredge.com. And, again, use the code 5RSN. By the way, on Better Edge right now, Jake Paul is a minus 219 favorite. Mike Tyson is plus 180. Yeah, I'm going with Mike on this one. I'm going with Mike on this one.
I don't know. And I love how all these people are making fun of this fight. It should never be happening. They all want to watch it. They're all interested in it. You know, Mike Tyson's a grown man. He can make his own decisions. Jake Paul, he's a decent boxer. He's got like 30 years on Mike Tyson. He's quick hand speed. So I don't know. I think the main reason why people are going to be watching that fight, Ethan, is hoping that Mike Tyson just knocks Jake Paul into the second row.
Yes.
You know.
That's why I would be it's the only reason I would be watching. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's at Jerry's Stadium, isn't it? Not many good things have gone on at Jerry's Stadium this year.
They needed something,
but they need something. A lot of us need something. But yes, I'm going to take my Iron Mike on that for sure. I mean, simply just look, the appearance in The Hangover for me is enough. He rehabilitated his entire image doing that. All right, Donno. Speaking of rehabilitating images, Erik Spoelstra needs a little of that right now. So. It's not that often over the past, 16, 17 years that we've said, okay, he was directly responsible for loss. Now, I know that there are fans who, they think that him not playing KZ Okpala for large stretches of the KZ Okpala era is a good reason to fire Spo. I remember early on in his tenure during the first couple of years of the Big Three, before the 27-game winning streak, that there was actually firespo.com. That website went out of business very long time. Remember a long time ago? Yes. I did a story on that guy who did it. And he was very strong in his beliefs that Spo should be fired. I believe Spo outlasted the website though. So he's still here.
Was that again?
Like 2011. It's now 2024. Spo has not been fired.
It was like right after Bumpgate then probably.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. Well, no, yes. Right around that time. And there are others who, because he wasn't feeding Whiteside the ball enough, or wasn't playing this guy or that guy, and everything else. But in this particular case, we're not calling for the firing of Erik Spoelstra by no means. But in this particular case, he was directly responsible for that loss. I mean, he got emotional, which he shows his emotions on the sidelines, but they don't usually affect his decisions. And to call a timeout that he did not have was very frustrating. And to, have the Tyler Herro 40-point, 10 3-point game kind of go into a vacuum now because it didn't come in a win kind of sucks. But I want to get into a sort of a bigger point with you here, Alex, which is this. This what Herro is doing through 10 games has been remarkable. He's bought in a huge way, and he's playing the best basketball he ever has. I just think it puts them in a weird position now. Like it looks like this is Tyler's team. He's got talking guys up, and Jimmy's going to come back at some point, I think. Bam's head is in the clouds right now, for the most part. Like, I don't know where this is going, because everybody was like, well, Tyler needs to repair his trade value, but then most fans aren't going to want to trade him now. So,
I mean, where I sit on this is I'm really happy to see Herro stepping up, especially stepping up just to how prolific his scoring is. And like you said, with the whole thing about Spo not calling the timeout, like I didn't really care that much, especially it's in that, the goofy tournament thing that they do. But I hated wasting a 40-point outing from Tyler Herro because Tyler deserved to win that basketball game. I still, Ethan, for as happy as I am for Tyler Herro, I think that we should all be at the realization that, an NBA team where Tyler Herro scoring leader and first option, I believe can only go so far. And it's not to say I don't want him as a long-term member of the Miami Heat necessarily. I just don't want him to always be the number one scoring option. If he can play more of a sidekick role when Jimmy is back. And listen, I'm all about trade value as well. If it does raise the trade value and the Heat make a move involving him, I don't want people complaining about dealing away Herro, and most of the same people wanted to deal away previous stops. But listen, I'm also all about whoever can help you win basketball games. And again, that's why I was frustrated that the Heat didn't win that game the other night. Because listen, because we know, Jimmy missing time, that's not going to one off. After he comes back, he'll probably miss time at some points. Bam's offensive game has been on a milk carton lately. So I'm all about somebody stepping up and having the answers, whether it's Herro, whether it's, Jovic, who had the game winner against Minnesota recently, whether it is Bam, if he can step up again, whether it's Scary Terry. Like I want the Heat's mantra to be, with that culture, anybody who needs to step up to help us win basketball games, I'm all for it.
Yeah, well, Scary Terry has been scary in another way lately.
Yes.
And that's been a huge part of the problem. The fact that Tyler has accepted a role, fit in so well, it really sticks out, the fact that Rozier and Bam have not, and Jimmy's not even, again, is hurt again. It's an interesting point here from MacMon. The trade Bam before Tyler. Tyler wants to smoke and be great. Bam wants to be a role player. I understand that sentiment. They will never look at it quite that way because Bam provides something that is very difficult to replicate. Like, you can find scorers. Now, not necessarily scorers who make 10 threes and are shooting with the efficiency that Tyler has this season, but you can find scorers. To find a guy who can anchor your defense, guard 1 through 5, do all those other things, they're always going to value that first. With that being said, like, I'm out of excuses for Bam. This is year 8, right? And he's coming off a great offseason, great summer, and none of it's translated. And he looks lost. And I can't. And the fact that his shot attempts last year declined every single month, from October to November to December to all 7 was decline. Well, he hasn't even started this year. He's taking shots. He's not making them. You said his game's on a milk carton. It's spoiled, is what it is. It's spoiled milk right now. It's not. He's not getting to the foul line jumper, and it feels to me like Spo developed an offensive system in part to accommodate Bam taking some threes and stretching the floor, and now he won't shoot them. I went back and watched the tape in the last game, and there were 3 possessions that were blown up. And someone actually chronicled this on Twitter. I'll have to take a look at it, but they basically he passes on the shot, it blows up the possession. So all this talk, Spo won't let him shoot threes, won't let him shoot threes. Okay, well, Spo literally endorsed it with the 2 of them in a press conference together, has designed certain parts of the offense so that they end up with a Bam 3, or at least that's one of the triggers, one of the options. He's not taking the shot, it's blowing up the possession. The point here, Bam's defense has been bad. It has not been at the level it should be before. Now, look, I'm not going to cite a personal stuff. I don't know, okay? Maybe he's tired after the summer, but I can't. These may be reasons, but I'm not making excuses. This is he got a max extension. He's the captain of the team. Okay, Jimmy's availability is something I will never trust. Bam getting better this year is something that I expected, and it does feel right now like one guy is dragging this team with him. And I think for right now, I don't know how it plays in the trade discussions, but I think for right now, you need to put together a group that's going to accommodate what Tyler is doing at the moment. Okay.
Yeah.
And to me, that's getting Terry out of the starting lineup, playing him with Duncan, maybe as a starter, because there seems to be some chemistry there, living with the defensive issues, and telling Bam, just defend.
Yeah.
Because you're not providing anything on the offensive end right now.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm sure you watched more preseason than I did, but it really seemed like everything with Bam was trending towards he's going to be taking and making more threes. He's going to be helping you stretch the floor. There were so many positive signs about the offensive game. I'm wondering what happened. I know that thankfully the NBA, well, maybe thankfully, maybe not, because, regular seasons for the Heat have not been that great lately. But I was going to say, thankfully, it's a long regular season. Maybe some of these issues will work themselves out over time, but I was not expecting this kind of a drop off from him.
No, and now you have the question of when Jimmy comes back, what does this look like now that Tyler has emerged? Tyler is the best offensive player on the team.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's the best player. He's the best offensive player on the team. You can't look at the numbers and the efficiency with which he's shooting. His numbers are better than Steph Curry's this season. Like you cannot make an argument that anybody else has been better. He's been the best offensive player in probably 8 of the 10 games in terms of scoring and efficiency, and he's on the floor. Like that's been the big complaint with him. Well, so far, knock on something, he's healthy. Okay, now I think they have to lean into it, at least for as long as it lasts, I think, because they don't have anything else to lean into. You're not leaning into Rozier. The Jaquez breakout, to me, is going to be restrained until they kind of figure out what the role is. Jimmy, you can't count on to play. And Bam has, again, been in his head. And so, to me, you're just trying to get wins until they sort of figure this thing out. Now, where they go long-term with it, we're going to do a series of episodes of 5 on the Floor about it, because I think it prevents a really tough problem. You can't build around Tyler Herro, but you also can't dump him for nothing when he's playing at this level. And I think they're sort of caught in this, where it's like one thing to say you want him to rebuild value, but now you're looking at it, you're like, all right, so you're trading him to rebuild into what? Like, I'm not trading anything to try to give Jimmy one last run at this when I don't know if Jimmy's going to be on the floor. So, right.
Exactly.
So, and they did it last year with Rozier, and I like the trade, and now it's blown up in my face because it looks like you'd rather have that first round pick back. All right, on the other side of this, we'll get into kind of how they handle the end of this road trip. Again, follow Alex at Alex Donno, me, Ethan J. Skolnick at 5 Reasons Sports, and follow our friends You Break Wheel Fix. You can find them at You Break Wheel Fix. That's with a U at the start. You Break Wheel Fix on Instagram. You can check out all the work that they do there. But again, it's more than just fixing wheels, although they do that. They also can make them look real nice. Okay, so check that out too. The powder coating, they got all the South Florida sports team colors in there. They do a great job. And if you mention 5 Reasons, you get 5.5% off your entire order, whatever it is. So make sure you mention 5 Reasons. Say hi to Mark De La Cruz and his entire team there. Again, it's You Break Wheel Fix with you at the start. YouBreakWheelFix.com. All right, they got 2 games against Indiana coming. I don't have a report on Jimmy's status yet, although I'm not anticipating he plays. Jaquez and Love are back. Let me ask you this. There's a lot of talk about this, about changing the starting lineup. He started Love the last couple games. I can't see that that's permanent. What would you do? You take Terry out of the starting lineup right now?
I think you have to. I mean, it's not working, number one, and number two. I mean, I think it's up to Spo. I mean, timeout can be forgiven from the other night, but you need to. He's the master of tinkering, and I think you need to tinker until you find a combination that works. And right now, Scary Terry ain't it.
No, I think that it might free him to play his game, to play with more bench units. Early in the season, it seemed like Spoelstra's strategy was to get Jimmy with the bench. Whatever that bench was going to be, and it's rotated. I think Burke should be playing ahead of Jay Rich. There's things that I would do here. I'll say this, Van. Van says this front office still believes in Jimmy. If they believed in Jimmy that much, they would have given him the extension.
Right.
So far, they're justified. He's a 17-point-a-game player who's now missing time again. Like this, we could talk about them believing in him. They believe in him to get him over the finish line if they can get to the finish line. But right now, they're 30 yards out from it. I don't see. I think they're going to evaluate what's out there in the market. I think Houston, Golden State, some of these teams are going to look at it. I don't see, and again, it's a bigger topic here and one we'll hit many times, but I don't see the value in throwing more things. It's like good money after, you can argue they should have done it a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever. I think it's too late. It's too late to save the Jimmy build. They got to figure out what the next build is going to be. But getting back to the Rozier thing on this, I think it would free him up, especially with Jimmy out, to play with a second unit and then he can go into one of his little binges where maybe he starts scoring. But this thing on the first unit, he's not a set it up point guard. I want the ball in Tyler's hands more often, either off the catch or off the dribble, whatever it is, than him. And he's just not providing anything on the defensive end. I would start Duncan. I know that doesn't help the defense, but certainly from a stretching the floor perspective, it would. Or I would start Highsmith, or I would start Jaquez over Rozier at this point. I just don't. I don't think the Rozier Herro backcourt was ever going to work. We talked about it before the season, and now there's enough evidence that no matter how well Tyler plays, it still doesn't work. Right. It's not going to start working now.
I mean, I like your point about how, sometimes you can, I'm not going to say like rehabilitate Rozier's Miami career, but at least give him a spark coming off the bench, because that's worked before when Spo has done that with players. So I'm curious to see how that would go down here.
All right, so we'll see. They got 2 games against Indiana, and they come back and play a beaten-up Philadelphia team. I mean, the only hope for the Heat right now is that Milwaukee and Philly have been so awful. But again, they'll start to get pieces back, and we'll see what Milwaukee does in terms of a trade or something along those lines. But I mean, you're this deep into the season. You're how many games behind Cleveland at this stage? Like, that's not something that any of us anticipated. They're getting Strus back soon too. And this is to go back to the beginning of this episode. Okay, I think you, me, 90% of the media in South Florida are big believers in Erik Spoelstra. Yeah. But Kenny Atkinson went into a situation in Cleveland. I thought Atkinson should have gotten a coaching job earlier than this, because he did a good job with the Nets. Just got pushed out in a power struggle. But he went to Cleveland, essentially the same personnel as last year. He's got them at 13-0. He figured out some solutions to make it work with Mitchell and Garland and with Allen and Mobley. Okay. It hasn't had Strus either. Now, at this point, Spoelstra needs to start to figure out some solutions quickly, okay? Because this thing spirals. Is not going to be a good situation, particularly with the Jimmy thing hanging over their heads. So he's got to find something. I'm with you. Keep tinkering until you find a lineup that works. The lineup that whatever lineup he's thrown out to start third quarters has struggled. The last couple games was better early and then bad late, but that needs to be figured out. All right, thanks, Alex. We'll be back next Tuesday. Check out the rest of the content here. Also, make sure you check out Floor's Yours. Did a 2-part episode. They had Royal Shepherd on, voice from the enemy. Now we welcome everybody on here. Royal was a good time. But he's been the biggest hero hater, and he had to mea culpa a little bit, but not too much. He wasn't going to go that far. Anyway, check out Floor's Yours here on the channel. Also, all the football content, including our guys over 6 Rings Canes, but also Inside Leverage Show, Pulse of Fins Nation. Those are both up from earlier in the week. Again, Dolphins are 7-point favorites on Sunday. I don't know. They think Marino's playing. Have a good night, everybody.